Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 6:54 a.m. East Coast time, Tuesday, June 18th. We have the WNBA. It has returned. It is a one-game showdown slate, and usually I'm very reluctant to do these, but as there's only a handful, really one or two of us that are covering these WNBA slates, and honestly, when we take into account the beat writers, there's realistically like a dozen people giving decent information about the WNBA. I figured I'd hop on here and do a quick little 12 to 15 minute video because it's not that long and really just talk through a WNBA strategy, talk about my projections, and go from there. So welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I cover daily fantasy sport as a car comes by early in the morning here in DFS, in NFL, NBA, MLB, golf. The golf video, first look video is out. MLB video will be out once this one is out. And then, yeah, the WNBA as well. Not many people covering it. Not many people at all, if like more than a handful of people, the pros in the DFS space, have projections. I'm not going to say that mine are the best or in the world or as good as the pros, but at least I do use them. And that's something that I'd say 95% of people playing WNBA probably do not do. So let's get into it. Hit this with a like button. Another thing I just will announce is that I am not showing my projections no more in these videos after today. For showdown slates, I'll probably end up showing them just because there's really no other way to break it down. There's only like 20 girls in play anyways, so I'm not going to just pick, oh, these are my 3 favorite showdowns. No, I'm not going to be doing that type of stuff. But going forward, I'm going to be doing what I did for the NBA, right? We show the injuries that are going to affect the slate. We show the target offense sheet, look at the pace numbers, look at the Vegas odds. Those things are very important to know going into the games, especially when there's a lack of information on that in the WNBA. Vegas odds come out like literally an hour or two before lock, so I try and predict my own Vegas odds or get close enough to where the projections will actually not be impacted by that. And then, yeah, we look at our early interests. But on a one-game slate, I'm just going to be breaking down my projections, which can be found. You can see above me. There's a link down below on Patreon. Loads of people have bought those. So thank you so much. People have signed up for the monthly projections. People getting back to me after the 2 and 1 game slate saying that they already paid off and more of the monthly projection. The way to go is use those projections for cash. Throw your cash lineups into any tournament lineups that you wish. You can use the same exact lineup in WNBA, but I prefer sticking to cash, sticking to single entry tournaments. And then, yeah, if you want to throw it into something else, be my guest because you have an advantage having those projections, knowing the minutes, knowing the point per minute production, defensive matchups, and overall pace, all these other things that factor into my projection. So let's get into it. I appreciate it. You can find that over on Patreon. You can follow me on Twitter at @SalvetryDFS with any questions about the projections. So starting it off, huge news today for the WNBA. Candace Parker is back. Might be a name, more of a household name in the WNBA, and a name that you actually recognize even if you're not familiar with the sport. So she's back, and this LA team it's now loaded, to be completely honest with you. This is a woman last year who played 30 minutes per game, around 31 really, 30.6, pulling her numbers from last year. She had a very high usage rate, around 30%, which is very rare to see in the WNBA. Small forward, power forward is what her eligibility is. On Draftkings, she'll kind of go all around the court. And today, her minutes, we'll see the projections that I have them at, but this is big. Her minutes are obviously going to impact others. She's not going to be right back into, after coming off a hamstring injury, 31 minutes of play, right? Or at least I don't think so. So I think there's going to be limited minutes here, but I don't think they'll be as limited as people think, as she has been rehabbing this for kind of more than she has needed. Now, that's not to say, oh, you should have been on the court. No. You should take your time with injuries, but she's been very safe with it, getting back up to speed, practicing for really the last week or so in practice, and had been going full go from the very murky reports I can find out there because there's really none. So Parker, yeah, I don't think she gets a full go today, but she should be getting decent time. And now you have, I believe the twins are out there, or whatever it is out there. I can't even pronounce their last name. You have Parker, you have Gray. You have a full team now of women who, one, they're all healthy, and really just Parker getting up to speed. And even Alana Beard, once this team's all healthy, you're going to have 4 players on the team playing around 30-plus minutes. It's going to be a very deep team. It's going to be a very scary team. Speaking of Alana Beard, she is going to be questionable today. She has not played in a while now, so keep an eye on this news. Point guard, shooting guard. This whole LA team is just loaded with DraftKings eligible point guard, shooting guards. So she hasn't played in a while. I actually have her projected out today. If that changes, I'll project her in, and it will be, I guess, somewhat significant. Only played in 1 or 2 games this year, so her minutes per game of 20 is a small sample size. Don't don't dig too deep into that. Wow. But yeah, Misha Hines-Allen is going to be probable today after, I believe, missing the last game, but she's probable today with a knee injury. She sees about 9 minutes per game, limited sample size, of course, $3,000. Not anything. I don't want to play her on a showdown slate, but it is important because she is going to probably go out there for, I think I only have projected for around 4 or 5 minutes, but that is going to take away from other teammates. And then everybody else you can see here. Ashley Walker's the only one not playing overseas. Maria Vadeeva, somebody asked me last game about her. She's still overseas. Emma Mieseman, she's still overseas. Kim Messdog, she's still overseas. And Ashley Walker was actually released yesterday by LA, so she's done. She's not with the team. So those are 5 minutes or so that will no longer be in the rotation, at least in her name. So that's the injury news. Look, the big things are, Ashley Walker, if you're making your own projections or trying to keep track of things, she's not even on a team right now, so don't play her. Maria Vadiva, a player that a lot of people want to actually start playing in the WNBA because she's fantastic. She's overseas, so don't be playing her. The other names down there overseas. And the big things, just watch Alana Beard. If she's in, that's going to be taking minutes and cutting minutes into some of the other guards on this team. And then Candace Parker, it's probably the biggest news of the season really so far in terms of players coming back, a lot of women dealing with injuries, a lot of stars right now in the WNBA dealing with injuries. Brianna Stewart, you just name it, Diggins. There's just women who are either pregnant or on maternity leave dealing with injuries. So that's where we're at with the injury news. Let's move over to the target offense sheet. As you will see, it's very small. Just 2 teams playing today. So this game right here, the pace, what I have projected actually for the game pace, and let me transfer this over. So this is updated because I updated it today. So the game pace today, I have about 80.9. So pretty much I take each team's pace. I don't just add it up and divide by 2. You have to factor in the league pace into that as well. So what I get is a huge pace up spot today for Los Angeles, who plays at a 75.5 pace. What is pace, you're asking me? Well, pace is just possessions per game. So team pace for LA, average on the season, they're getting around 75, 76 possessions per game. And Washington's getting around 83 or 84. That just means they're playing faster. So obviously when you play faster, more points are going to be coming. And when you have more points in real life, you're going to have more opportunities for Draftkings points, either the real points, the shooting, or the rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, double-doubles, whatever you want to call it, right? So the total today I have actually being pretty high because Washington is a team that is going to push the tempo, push the pace. These teams are pretty efficient for the most part. So game pace is at 80.9 possessions, which is really when anytime you touch the 80s in the WNBA, it's something to kind of look at and go, okay. But obviously this is the only game on the slate, so it's not like we're fading other games to play this one. It's just showing you that yes, this game is going to be played at a high pace. So getting the players who are obviously on the floor is going to now be the most important part. Let's go over to my projections. So I only have 20 players projected today, and or actually 19 players projected today, with players being overseas, and then 1 or 2 players I just took out of the player pool just due to one, Ashley Walker just being not on a team anymore, released yesterday, and then I also took, I forgot who out, just because they haven't been playing all year so far. But Alana Beard, if she's out, then it goes down to an 18 person player pool. Now, before we get into this, let's talk about something, because your eyes quickly jump to column Q and column R, wherever it is above my head, and you're like, okay, who's the value? Whichever number is bigger on the value chain, that means they're a better value for their price. Whichever number is bigger in the projected points, P points, just means that's what I project them for overall points. Don't just jump there, right? Let's actually try and teach you and learn a little bit here. This is a showdown slate in the WNBA. This is going to be vastly different from the NBA, from the NFL, where I would never, ever suggest playing showdown. The NBA, there was $1 million, $250,000 to first, so that's where it becomes a little bit more viable, because if you win, even if you split it, you're still splitting 10-figure prize pools. There's going to be a very small prize pool. It's like $5K to first. There's going to be so many people playing for that. There's going to be so few combinations. So if you do want to play these GPPs, once again, leave money on the table. But that's not viable in cash to leave money on the table. So build different lineups for the showdown slate, I would say. You could still put your cash lineup in there, but if you're spending all your money, you are going to split it with probably 50 people or so, or 40 people or so, and it's only 5K to first. You're going to walk away with like $100 or $200. It's just not even worth playing at that point based on your odds. So again, these showdown projections, or these projections in general, I would recommend using for cash. And I never recommend playing cash in a showdown slate, a 1-game sample, because it's so variant. But a slate like this, in a sport really like this, where it's the WNBA, 90% of the people that are playing cash, well, maybe not 9 out of 10, but I'd say 6 to 7 out of 10 of the people playing cash, which is a very big number compared to any other sport where it's like less than 1 out of the 10, have no idea who the players are that are getting consistent minutes, who the players are that are seeing more minutes because of injury, less minutes because of injury, who has good matchups, any of that stuff, who's a value play. They don't know any of that stuff. So if you can just build your lineup with optimal plays, players who are going to step on the court for the stars 30 minutes, the secondary options who are cheaper, at least in the 20 minutes, right? Because other people are going to be playing people who are stepping on the court for 12 minutes today. And then there's 6 fantasy points compared to the girl that you put out there for 20 minutes who gets you 17, is all the difference in the world in a 1-game showdown slate, right? So that's one thing. Number 2, play a stud in your captain spot. Now, that's going to be pretty obvious one, but there's a lot of times, and we saw in the NBA, that you can put Marc Gasol, or you can put Kyle Lowry, guys who are not these Kawhi Leonard, Steph Curry's, Kevin Durant's, these top tier studs in your captain spot, because they still can have a good game. The WNBA is not like that. There's only going to be a handful of girls. I mean, this is a bad slate to kind of use that example because LA has like 3 or 4 girls who are going to go out there and play 30 minutes and have the upside to score 30 plus points. But there's only going to be usually a handful, like 3 or 4 girls who have the upside to go out there and play 30 plus minutes and put up 35 plus fantasy points. I would argue on today's slate, depending on Candace Parker's health, if she's fully healthy, then there's going to be 5 players that have that upside, in my opinion. If she's not, then there's probably only going to be 4. So play a stud in the captain spot. Usually for me, I'm playing one of the top priced. So like Alana today, I'd play Alana today at 10-2. I think that she's fine at the captain spot. Nika is at 9-8. I have her projecting out for a point less. She's fine at the captain spot. Chinny is at 9,600, so $600 less than Alana, but only $200 less than her Nika. So that's 33 points. Candace Parker grades out phenomenally at 7,400. If Candace Parker only at 24 minutes, I only have her at 24 minutes today. Now, there's a chance Candace Parker comes out here and plays 18 minutes. I want to analyze this a little bit more. I want to try and find as much as I can about her injury status. If we get news that she's limited, which I doubt we ever do, I don't think we've ever gotten news that a player is limited in the WNBA. They'll tell us if she's playing or not, but they won't tell us anything deeper, which is ridiculous, but that's the way it is. We've seen players this year like Cambridge come back and play 17 minutes in her first start, then 25. So that does worry me, but Parker has been practicing full go and has been taking off a very long time for this injury. So 22 might be a more realistic projection. And even if I give her 22 minutes today, she still grades out at 26.5 fantasy points, which at 22 minutes makes her still one of the best values on this entire slate. So yeah, 24 minutes is fine. Parker grades out just around 29 points. Parker is somebody outside of these top tier studs that I would put in the captain spot. But with the injury concern, and if you're putting a cash lineup together, I don't think I can get her in there. In the tournament lineup, sure, go to Parker. She's cheaper. You can fit in another stud. But in a cash lineup, if Parker goes out, plays 18 minutes, and she is just a little bit less productive, because this was a 1.31 fantasy point per minute producer last year. I have her juiced down. I have her at 1.2 just because of the team now, the players that she's with, and also coming back from an injury. I don't think she's going to be peak production. So even juiced down, even minutes juiced down, she's still a good play. But I think it's risky putting it into the cash captain spot because the upside, realistically, there's a lot of risk getting to that upside compared to the 3 studs above her in price. And really, I guess even Chelsea Gray, you can kind of argue above her in price. Chelsea Gray has a path to 30 minutes, as we've been seeing consistently, averaging 30 minutes on the year. I have her just under a point per minute. I've knocked down all these LA Sparks point per minute production with Parker back, but not too much, right? Nika I've marked down by like 0.05, pretty much all of them by 0.05. So Chelsea Gray, instead of a point per minute producer, I have her at 0.95. What does that mean? It just means she's going to score less fantasy points because Candace Parker will be on the court next to her more. And honestly, I probably have to knock down Chelsea Gray a little bit more, nothing drastic, but I'm going to come back and fix that. But knock her down a little bit more. She gets to 27.7. Okay, so let's keep moving down. There is, once again, only like 19 players, 18 if you take out Alana Beard. If you're going to take out the players who I don't even have getting to like the 10-minute mark, so let's just kind of do this little blacklist. We did this right in the NBA. So I'm going to just blacklist Alana Beard right now. If she ends up playing today, fine. I don't want anybody that I have projected for low minutes, and low minutes are just girls that just don't have an avenue to more minutes. If you're not playing 15 plus minutes or really closer to 20, I don't want to play you today in a showdown slate because in the WNBA, you're likely a very bad player if you're playing 15 minutes, and that's realistically like 7 fantasy points. It's not like the NBA where you can have Serge Ibaka playing 15 to 17 minutes and scoring 30 plus fantasy points because he can be very hyperactive in those minutes. No, the WNBA, if you are not playing a lot of minutes, it's because you're bad, and when you're on the court, you're hurting your team. You have a terrible plus minus, you have a terrible point per minute production. So literally all these players down here, I have less than right around 13. Most of them are around 10 or 11. We're blacking them all out. I don't want any of them. So now we quickly get ourselves a 13-person player pool. We have to pick 6 of these. Now this is pretty nice to choose from. So as I look at this, Walker Kimbrough, I have her projected for 20 minutes. She's only 3,800, and she projects out for 16.5 fantasy points. She becomes an exceptional value today, like a really good value if I put her at 20 minutes. She's been averaging that on the year, so she's underpriced based on this slate. But then you have to ask yourself, is it worth getting to a player for the price point to get up to another stud at 3,800 whose realistic points more times than not are going to be around 15? When I can pay a lot more than that and get myself to an Aerial Powers at 5,000 who is going to get me 7 more fantasy points than her more times than not. Is that worth it than going all the way down? So I think Walker Kimbrough at 3,800 is going to have to be an interesting spot for me. Somebody who, for this Washington team, has been seeing consistent minutes around the 20 spot, has been a decent point per minute producer at 0.86. Definitely underpriced in this slate. Like, let's get that out there. The best value play on this slate is Walker Kimbrough because she will touch right around 20 minutes today. She will be above average in production. The average WNBA player is around 0.8 point per minute. She's at 0.86, and a lot of that is skewed by these top-end players who are just scoring way over that, right? So yeah, Walker Kimbrell at 3,800. If you're telling me, Sal, where's the value? Where's the below 5,000 play? That's the only person below 5,000 I'd even look at. And I do think it's decent. It just depends what you do with the rest of your lineup. And again, this is somebody who the casuals and 90% of people playing the WNBA are going to just pick a random person below there who's been playing well as of late and not put any context behind it. They might end up on Walker Kimbrell, but the truth of the matter is if you're going below 5,000, you should always end up on her. So yeah, she's definitely interesting to me. Aerial Powers is somebody who I have projected for 22 minutes, but I think there is an avenue to more minutes. She's been playing fantastic as of late. The last 2 games, she's been getting on the court more, and 3 games really, and just playing great. I mean, over 20 fantasy points in each of those. So Aerial Powers at $5,000, who has only seen 17 minutes per game, but over the last 2 or 3, really seeing a bump in her minutes. I have her projected for above her average at 22, and I think there is an avenue to around 24 minutes there. She grades out for just under 23 fantasy points for me. Realistically, in terms of getting to a good projection more times than not, and good projection, I mean like actual high point score, right? Because I have Kimbrell projected for 16.5, Powers projected for 22.5. A 6-point difference is a lot, even though it's a $1,200 price difference. I think Aerial Powers, if you ask me overall, my favorite value on the slate, if Candace Parker wasn't going to get full run today, it's probably Aerial Powers. In terms of the cheapies, below 5,000, it's Walker Kimbrell. If Candace Parker, if you told me that there's no minutes limit today and they tell us that, well, then Candace Parker's in 100% of my lineups, and I'd probably consider her for the captain spot. Outside of that, there's just a bunch of pieces that don't really stand out too much to me. Raquan Williams, have her at 22 minutes, or just over 20 fantasy points. I prefer Aerial Powers. Raquan Williams, I do think, is going to take a hit for a few reasons. Sydney Weiss, she started the last game. If we say that Candace Parker starts for her today, Weiss has not been starting all year. I don't believe so, but she's only been seeing around 14, 15 minutes. If Weiss moves to the bench, that's probably going to affect Raquana. I don't want to say the name wrong. I'm sorry, but we'll just go with Raquan Williams. That's going to affect her minutes a little bit. Girl who's been seeing around 25, 26. I have her juiced down to 22 due to Parker's return. Latoya Sanders, have her projected for a little bit above what she's been getting. Around 25 minutes is what I have her projected at today. Doesn't grade out that great. She's not as good of a point per minute producer as Powers, as Williams. So these are just players I'm not getting to. TRP, Tiara Ruffin-Pratt, she's been playing really well. 0.94 fantasy points per minute, has been playing above her season average as of late, touching close to 30 minutes in, I think, 2 out of the last 3 games. I have her at 25 today. Again, playing really well, but if Candace Parker is going to be back today, that's going to impact your point per minute production and just the overall, 1, scoring opportunities, and 2, the big one, assist rate, right? Rebounds, other things as well. So I worry about Ruffin-Pratt moving forward. Today, she's fine. I mean, you can get to her. I'm not anything worried about it, or I'm not too against it. But again, she's 6,600 compared to Aerial Powers, who I have grading out very similarly for $1,600 left. Yeah, I'm probably going to get there. So for me, this slate is get a stud in your captain spot. There's 13 players right here. That is my player pool right now. Get a stud in your captain spot. I think Powers is a great play. I think Walker Kimbrell on the cheap end, if you have to go there, is fine. And then really from Chelsea Gray, Candace Parker, somebody pronounce it. Give me the pronunciation. If you're still watching, the Wnba, I can't say. Oh my God, it's terrible. Both of them, they are going to be in play. And then, yeah, Alana is going to be in play. Elena, they're going to be in play. These 5 players up top. Get to as many of them as you can in your lineup. That's it. My name's Sal. Let me know if you liked the video. Like and subscribe before you leave. If you subscribe, it helps me so much. If you watch the whole video, comment down below. If you want these projections moving forward, I'm not showing them every time. This is the only time I'm probably going to be showing them for the rest of the year outside of other showdown slates. If you want them, go down below. The link is below to Patreon. You can get my all-access pass that gets you into the WNBA projections, any updates that I have, any extra notes that I want to put on that I didn't say in the video later in the day. If I find anything cool, I'll write that into the WNBA projections as well. My MLB stat sheet, as well as my top stacks and pitchers right before lock, I post those. And then my golf sheet, and then NFL's to come. So you can go there, or you can just get the WNBA projections. My name's Sal. You already know that.